I heard that this particular best of 3 is absolutely phenomenal. So let's find out together exactly what ended up going down. Between the world's highest ranked Protoss, we have Hero, and then a previous world champion. He goes by the name of ByuN. A best of 3 that's starting off on the map Lockdown. Now I gotta say, Hero has been playing some very spicy, well, Protoss in general. I was gonna say Protoss versus Terran, but Hero's games are always a lot of fun to watch. If I can be honest though, I have not been as impressed or as inspired by ByuN's playstyle lately. ByuN in general, especially in this matchup, seems to still be doing the thing that he was doing on the previous patch, and that is, well, make a lot of command centers, maybe go for an attack with like Stimpack finishing up, maybe go for an attack with 2-2 finishing up, but across the board, ByuN's been playing a very passive style, and ever since they reduced the command center to 300 minerals, well, he's doubling down on that, right? I mean, the idea was that with a cheaper command center, you could now go and spend more money on army so you could go across the map. ByuN instead is taking that cheaper command center as an opportunity to then buy more command centers. And I don't disagree with him. It seems like strategically it's the best choice, but it does result in quite a turtly matchup right now. Right from the get-go though, in this particular match, we do have a double gas start. So I have to find out together exactly what ByuN has been cooking up. Double gas does imply that he does not want to go for as quick a second command center, so usually this means you want to go for a faster factory, you get all of the early game units rolling really early on, and obviously that does mean you get a lot of units out and you can be aggressive. What I've been really liking about Heroes, Protoss versus Terran in particular, is how he's been using the new gateways. So while Hero was initially just starting off 5.0.16 by paying the gateway tax, that's no longer the case. Hero has been even swapping warp gates back to regular gateways when he goes back home, just to make use of the additional production speed that you now get after researching warp gates. So I'm expecting that he's going to be sitting here on regular gateway production for quite a while, and the flexibility of having like some of your gateways transformed into warp gates and the others not so much, it does create a lot of interesting variety, and it really does mean that Protoss is probably harder to play right now than it's ever been before. But at the same time, obviously, that also means you get more flexibility, and players that are really good at the game, like for example Hero, should, at least in theory, be able to, well, probably get better in the long run. We'll have to find out though, because it's very hard, and at this point there's not really any established rules for anything just yet. SCV Scout, or Probe Scout rather, does get up towards the high ground but gets blocked. The Reaper spotted it, but honestly you already saw most of everything here as Hero. So he saw the timing of the command center starting, he saw the reactor as well, so he knows it's a Reaper, and just judging by the timing of the command center, he will be able to figure out that this is indeed going to be a factory as well, because otherwise this command center would have been much further along. It's a quick Stalker here, so you know what? Hero is indeed starting off this game with straight aggression, and I don't really mind it all too much. Maybe we should be building that command center on the high ground. I mean, it's now easier to do than ever before, since it's 100 minerals cheaper. Well, obviously you have to spend maybe like 6-7 seconds to try and fly it down to the low ground, but you also get it a similar amount of time earlier than that because of the cost reduction, so it should be reasonably viable. Right now it's a bit more of a delay. A lot more Reapers were produced. Yeah, and just seeing this come in is actually quite nice. There's already, though, plenty of Stalkers out, and this is before the Warp Gate research is even finished. So, real quick, in case you've not been 100% in the loop, just getting this upgrade, not even transforming your gateways, but just getting this upgrade now boosts your regular gateway production by 50%. So, I'm assuming we can keep pumping these units out. It's effectively now a double gateway, right? Like you can get twice as many units out of a singular gateway as you could in the past, which is a lot. So it's basically like this thing is permanently chrono boosted, except that you can still chrono boost it as well to get even faster production. Look how fast that's coming out. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So it means that effectively all timing attacks that you're cooking up ahead of time are going to be with more units or with less gateways. And most of the time right now, Protoss players seem to be... Oh, interesting. We have very quick benchy speed here. All right, we'll get back to that in just a moment. But most of the time right now, Protoss players seem to cut the amount of gateways that they produce so they can go for a faster expansion because they're saving themselves a little bit of money in that regard. So we'll have to see exactly where all of this will settle. It's a very fast benchy speed build here for ByuN. This is an upgrade, so it got buffed a couple of patches ago. We saw it being used initially at the time, but it wasn't super popular. You always have to make the choice, right? Do you go cloaking or do you go benchy speed? Most of the time, cloaking just is simply better. But maybe you can get both. He's gonna try and hide it, I guess. Yeah. He'll be saving up a bunch of benchies and then I guess sending them straight across. It's 2 benchies to one-shot a probe. We'll definitely be waiting for the second one. We could even be waiting for more than that, though. What if you just, like, get cloaking going as well and save up to, like, 4? Would that be a good idea? Probably not. Third Nexus is now done. Blink is also done. We're doing all of this off of just 2 gates. Still just pumping out units. He's got so much, right? Look at the amount of Stalkers here. This is just 2 gateways. I'm still a little bit flabbergasted just by the amount of stuff that you can build up right now as Protoss on such a small amount of production. Nice scan over there. Observer does get the Knight. It does mean, of course, that right now Hero will be in the dark, but he may have had a glimpse of those 2 benchies. Now, I do have the speed upgrade done. Probably one of the most underrated upgrades in the entire game. If I were to make a guess, I think it's very good. But if the Stalkers are in the right place at the right time, they are going to be able to intercept it. Easy peasy. I think you want to kill at least like 4 probes or so for it to be worthwhile. Hero, though, has decided to start just one-tapping all of those SCVs. Here go the benchies. They're very quick. We have the rest of the Terran army now also arriving. Siege Tank does get rid over one of those Stalkers in the main base. We have a recall right now. Here go the speedy benchies. Honestly, that little Stalker blink by was kind of sick. Terran army has decided to go back home. They see the amount of units available, and ByuN decided to nope out. Okay. An eye for an eye. 4 probes, 5 SCVs. That does, of course, benefit the Protoss player across the board here, because Protoss does have another base up. You could make the argument, though, that this strengthens the effect of mules, at least temporarily. So ByuN is going to be able to get that, obviously, to his advantage. But the main problem you run into right now as the Terran is that you have to play defensively for a while. So we've got Stimpack, we've got Combat Shields, and we have +1 attack. Getting those 3 upgrades done all at the same time is going to open up another opportunity for Terran to get aggressive, but yeah, this is not really going to be that easy because these upgrades are reasonably late. And I think by the time you ever get those upgrades done, there will certainly be a Colossus, maybe 2 Colossi, maybe even 1-1 upgrades done for Protoss if Hero decides to chrono boost it out. It's just going to be really difficult, yeah, to get all of this under control. So, I think the best thing you can do right now as Terran is get a 3rd command center up. Maybe protect it for a little bit. Because we do have a Reaper actually going in around the site. Somehow, some way, this lad got 2 confirmed kills. Not for much longer. Anyways, 2 additional probes do end up going down, but already, Hero is now given so much freedom. And this is the problem that Terran players run into in this matchup. It's one of the things that the new patch hasn't really addressed. How in the world do you now grab map control back as Terran? Is there a way for Terran to prevent Protoss from absolutely running out of control? We've seen Terrans do it on the previous patch in a couple different ways. Both of them, though, really do involve pulling the SCVs. And ByuN has never been a big fan of that, so he's going to go into a 3rd command center right now. I think he's going to use the army that he's got to try and leverage it towards a 3rd base. But then his best chance is to go ahead and sit. Hero sees that right now, already has a 4th Nexus going. He could already go into a 5th if he wanted to. There's really nothing preventing Hero now from just expanding all over the map. And it's one of the big difficulties, I think, for this matchup. I'm not really sure what the best way to solve it is. Some players have been making the argument that maybe, and I know this is a wildly unpopular statement, but some players have been making the argument that maybe Terrans should get their free cloaked Widow Mines back. Because basically Protoss can now just march around the map. There's really nothing preventing them from doing so. Doing Zealot run-bys and whatnot is way harder if you're dealing with cloaked Widow Mines all over the map. Now, obviously, that was never a very popular thing, but at the very least, it gave Terrans some semblance of map control. Instead, right now, Hero is doing whatever he pleases. It's going to be a Templar Archives. We already have a Stargate, actually. Huh. This is quite unpopular, I would say. Most of the time, when you are given the map, Protoss players really enjoy going into the mass Stalker army. The mass Gateway Man style in general. But we already have the +1 flyer upgrade coming in, and we already have a Stargate on the production tab too. He's researching 2-2. Load of gateways, by the way, just producing units, I guess, whenever he wants to. Yeah, we'll be adding some more of those in the mix. But this screams to me some sort of Tempest transition. Could even be going carriers. Could even be going Fleet Beacon into the mothership. No, it's second Stargate and Fleet Beacon. So the second Stargate does imply that he really wants to, no, triple Stargate even, that he really wants to make a transition towards Tempest. Okay. Don't know if that's the right call, but we'll find out. ByuN has a nice army. I think his main next line of attack, if he wants to go across, is with 2-2 finishing up. But Terrans have learned over the last few weeks that the best way for them to win from this position is to effectively just slowly take their half. So you want to make more command centers. He's building 3 of them right now, all at the same time. I would imagine we're going to be taking this base in a moment. We'll probably be aiming for the one over here as well. Slowly but surely take your half of the map and then try to force a late game engagement eventually. And this is the part of TVP that I personally, now some people love this, but I personally have a bit of a problem with this because I'm a bit afraid that the meta is 100% going to devolve to players just turtling up. And I don't really like it. I don't really like it when players have to turtle up in order to win. We've been there many times before in the history of StarCraft 2. It's one of the reasons why I disagree with the command center change. Because it's just encouraging this type of turtly style. If the goal was to increase the amount of variety that we have in the patch, we should certainly not be going into cheaper command centers, because it's going to encourage people to sit back and do very little. Alright, Mama being added into the mix. Hero right now, for all intents and purposes, basically maxed out. So he's gonna, yeah, be able to get a couple more Tempests going, but most of his minerals will probably go to now Zealot run-bys and more expansions. Look at the mini-map already, though, right? Like, he's got so much of the map already taken. ByuN also maxed out, but do you really want to go for an attack right now if you're the Terran? You're better off not pushing across, so you may as well just add another command center of your own. Maybe a couple more command centers of your own. Cloak coming up right now for the Ghosts. +3 attack. Yeah, sometimes this turtly style, though, is pretty sick as well, right? And the real irony, I've been playing some other RTS games as well over the last few months especially. Age of Empires 2 games, for example, don't really begin oftentimes until much later in the game, right? You start with 3 workers. The entire game is at a much slower pace. 13 minutes of turtling is, well, not particularly rare. Let's see, though, if Hero can get some work done over here. I think this is mostly to try and get rid of some of those cheaper units. ByuN decides to stim and chase all of this down, but the Colossi are gonna make that difficult. We have 2 additional starports added into the mix as well. ByuN is wanting to go mass Viking right now. There's the mothership. First big skirmish in the game. This is mostly Hero, though, just testing the waters. I don't believe he really thinks he can go through with this army. But we have a good number of units. Time Warp gets thrown down as well. The siege tanks here are having a grand old time. Getting a couple of nice shots off. Secondary squat as well for the Protoss, hitting here on the right side. I don't think this is really going to achieve very much either. We've already gone up to, how many starports? 4 of them right now. Generally speaking, you do only make 3 in this matchup, but hey, there's really nothing stopping you from taking 5. Far upper left, already taken by Hero. Far bottom right, also now taken by Hero. And this is where things can become problematic for ByuN, because this is a slower game for ByuN, right? And he wants to try and grab all of those bases eventually. If obviously his expansions that he wants to take, well, at the absolute latest end of this game, if those bases are already mined out, he is going to run into an issue. I would actually really love to see probes from like the 3rd or maybe the natural go to the corner bases right now. Those are going to be the main bases that are contested in the ultimate late game. And if Hero can secure those right here, right now, that would be absolutely massive. Good EMP right there. Time Warp gets thrown down as well. Right now, the Viking count, though, is quite big. Vikings are stuck inside of the Time Warp. There we go. We get an extra volley. I think the Viking count right now is big enough to basically just one-shot all these other units. 18 Vikings against Tempest and Colossi. Super easy for them to snipe all of this. Look at Hero, man. What the... Hero enjoys a bit of freedom. There's so many command centers now being built. Tactical nuke added into the mix as well. We have a fusion core. We have everything, man. Big engagement yet again. This is where the Vikings will indeed reign supreme. That's all of the Skytals gone, and I think the Colossi are going to be falling as well in just a moment. I don't know if ByuN realizes that. Okay, now he sees it. That indeed there is a base being taken. That's the reason we have this Protoss army situated right over here. But you know what? That's where tactical nukes are kind of sick. Really good for breaking static defense lines. Disruptor count now growing. Even though Hero wanted to be playing that big Skytals army, the Vikings are already countering it pretty hard. He still has a few of those units now popped out of these production structures. But for the most part, he's making now a transition that does not require the opponent to have Vikings out. Ultimately, though, I think Hero is really just trying to buy some time. Yep, he's got the corner base. Did he transfer workers from the third base or something? No, he did not. Love to see the natural expansion just transferred far to the bottom right. Maybe just recall him? Okay, he's recalling some army units. Fair enough. Giant warp in. We now have 13 gateways available. Hero is going to be able to remax in a pinch as well. And this is now suddenly only a portion. I was going to say half, but a pretty significant portion of the Protoss army. ByuN anticipates it. You love to see it. Apparently, we're going to send it? Kind of like Zork players right-clicking a planetary fortress with banelings? There's no way that that was cost-efficient. Look at that. ByuN immediately rebuilds the CC. New Nexus. New mothership. We're building everything back up once again. They keep playing this tug of war over here on the right side, but I can't help but wonder how in the world this is going to be beneficial for Hero. He loses a lot of expensive units every time. Same for that army he just threw away in the upper left. The cost efficiency is not quite there. It's been pretty solid up until about a minute ago. But right now, I guess we're feeling rich. This is that lifestyle creep, right? Suddenly you're so used to the amount of minerals you're getting away with that you've decided that 20 Zealots means nothing to you. It's a dangerous lifestyle, man, because what if you suddenly have to scale it back down? The problem is that ByuN is also, likewise, very rich. He's got orbital commands for days, and he can actually mine out a base really quickly because of it. The problem, though, that I do foresee here for ByuN, even though the fights are going quite well for the Terran, the problem he's going to run into is that Hero has taken not just half of the map, but he's taken 2 additional bases on top of it. And once those minerals are gone, they're gone. It does take longer now for bases to fully mine out, so that's something to keep in mind. But Hero is just building so much static defense. He is clearly, not planning on ever giving ByuN any of those bases. Pretty crazy. The rocks are gone. Hero decides to now go through the choke point. Gets an orbital command for his troubles. Neither player really has that big of a bank. Normally it's the Terran that's low on money right now. Another command center falls. Normally it's the Terran, though, that's been spending so much money on command centers that they don't have much of a bank. Hero's been building up so much static defense and so many Nexi that likewise his bank is not as big as you would expect. Big recall, though, right now towards the left side of the map. Mama has suddenly popped up over here on the other end of the map, and it's a double planetary fortress. Is this really the way to play it? That's -1 planetary. The Mass Cloak is nice, but the Vikings have already come through. Good control here by ByuN in general, stutter stepping through all of this. He's going to be able to snatch so many of those disruptors. The disruptors are now on cooldown. And while they're always annoying to play against, yep, ByuN absolutely wipes the floor with that army. And he really only loses the planetary. He sees right now that Protoss has decided to go for this army over here on the high ground. Hero kind of needs some more gateways, man. It's weird to say because he's got 13 of them, but I think maybe another bunch would not be a bad choice. We have a recall right now to the far right side of the map. So Hero is recalling with the Mothership and the Nexus to go all over the map faster than even a Zerg player would be able to pull off. I guess this is the Protoss equivalent of a Nidus Worm, except it's a Nidus Worm with a bit of a cooldown. Planetary Fortress, though, is proving to be quite nice. And while maybe this is the style that Zerg players like to go for, they don't have Planetary. Or they don't have, sorry, Banelings right here to counter the Planetary. Double Planetary yet again over here as well on the right side. 13 SCVs have gone down. Double Planetary at this point, though, finishes up. And that is always so bloody nice. Maybe he's going to be able to kill both. I mean, it's going to be expensive. Now, he does not want to send it. We have so many Liberators now as well available here. And those Liberators are just picking off Zealots one at a time. Hero is going to have to back up once again. Now, this is why he can do it, right? He's getting like 2,000 resources more per minute. That's so much. It adds up very rapidly. At this point, though, we should have a lot of mules mining. So it shouldn't be the end of the world anymore for ByuN, at least for the next couple minutes. ByuN is taking the far better, far more efficient fights. There's the cloaking field activated again on the Mothership. He's taking the more efficient fights, but is it really the correct way to play? Because while all of this is happening, Hero is chipping away at those corner bases, and one of those is supposed to belong to the Terran. If Protoss mines 60% of the map's total resources, the cost inefficiency is completely irrelevant. Pylon over here gets knocked down though. ByuN did already kill the high ground base on the opposite end of the map, and I think that this particular expansion is indeed going to be next. Most of this static defense did absolutely nothing. That's a lot of resources down the drain right here for Hero. Yeah. And while he had some money to play with, he's now forced to rebuild probes. Liberator set up over here as well. Excellent movement by ByuN. Pre-splitting his units against somebody that can constantly warp around the map is not so easily done. Still though, Planetary Fortress here is taking a beating from the Tempest as well as the Purification Novas. Still with the repair, it stays alive. The Vikings are trying to chase all of this down. Again, I really do like this army here for the Terran a little bit better. Yep, -2 Disruptors. And additional Tempest will also fall. Does ByuN even know about the far corner base? He does not. I think he knows that it's there, though, because even though he hasn't seen it, everything that Hero has been doing, it implies that the base is there. ByuN's like, yo, why don't you just let me macro? Just let me turtle up, man. I love the addition of the Liberators. Yeah, what in the world are the Zealots going to do here? Good luck charging through with your Zealots. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's a good idea. Difficult call right now, though, for ByuN, right? Like, how many Vikings, Ghosts, Liberators, Marines, Marauders, Metavid? Like, how much supply do you dedicate to each part of your army? Because Protoss can just swap back and forth so easily. We have another big recall. This one is headed towards the Mothership. The Mothership and the Nexus, they don't share the same cooldown on the mass recall. So all the Nexi share the recall, but the Mothership and the Nexus recall is separate. One of them is called mass recall, the other one is called strategic recall. Apparently the game considers it a different spell. That is what is allowing Hero to flip and flop behind or around the map so frequently, but still, it's a short bit of distance to travel here for ByuN, who snipes the Mothership yet again. Tempest count is pretty big right now, but there's not a lot of splash damage, it seems. How many Vikings do we have? Just about 6. 9 Tempest is still pretty sweet. I wouldn't mind seeing some Tempest armor upgrades as well. Likewise, I would love to see the +3 armor here for the Vikings. Hero, though, with a big warp in, now forces this Terran army to back off once again. Okay. This is so problematic. The fact that Hero has both of the corner bases, it means that in the long run, right? Like, hypothetically, if the whole map mines out, ByuN is dead. What do you do? you need to make sure that you do not allow Protoss more than their half. So he will take care of the, okay, the base over here. Lots of probes dying as well. Pylon is still around though, so that's going to allow a very rapid, very nice warp in. Nexus actually stays alive, correction. 24 probes did fall. But you can remake the workers, right? I think that's okay. That's like a 12 Zealot warp in. You can remake that. Maybe this is my favorite change on the new patch, by the way. We now have the classic StarCraft 1 burning of the Protoss structures. It actually looks pretty cool. Anyways. The tug of war continues here in the upper left. Tactical nuke finally being used. I think ByuN probably just saw when he selected the ghost that, wait a second, he's got one of those available. Careful though, you don't nuke your own army. He decided to cancel it, fair enough. Hero doesn't really know that. He has to now run away to probes. Curious path that you guys chose, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think you should be running that direction. Alright, Nexus does fall. And the amount of probes that have now died over the last few minutes is getting out of hand. Still though, Hero's able to remax extremely quickly. But it's a low-tech type of remax, right? He's building another Nexus yet again. This time around, he's no longer really able. He's no longer really able to put down 1 million shield batteries as well. Just a single photon cannon and a single shield battery will be it. ByuN's trying to fly a command center on over in this direction. Honestly, sending more units to their death over here on this planetary is not that significant anymore, but this is basically a free pickoff. I don't really mind that all too much. ByuN is coming through, though. There's another mothership on the production tab, but she's not yet out. EMP does get used to soften up a lot of the Zealots. ByuN wants to get the positional advantage. He should be able to get the council on that Nexus, maybe even the kill. Gets another Tempest. No council, so that means it's going to be a kill. Minus 400 minerals. And ByuN taking his base is massive. There was some mining here going on, but most of the mineral fields are still intact. The far bottom right base, though, is running low. Same for the base over here in the far upper left. So, if we can now get to a state where all of the mineral fields mine out, it should be beneficial for Hero, who decides to pull the trigger right over here. He does not want to see ByuN mine his base out. Man, so many Zealots just running through everything. There's nowhere that ByuN can really go. He decides to land all of the Vikings now that the Tempests are gone. An absolute meat grinder, though, in favor of the Terran. Hero takes a lot of losses here. And look at the resources lost right now. In the early game, this was pretty much identical. But right now, well, we have a 16,000 mineral difference between the two. It's not even done yet, though. He's still sending in more skeletons here. And this is a big one. I like this one way better than sending everything on top of that one Terran army. Okay. That'll be the end of that orbital command. Terran army, though, moving through. Ooh, ByuN actually cutting off the retreat path. Not a move we really see very often with Marines and Marauders against units that are faster than them. But ByuN wanted to continue fighting like they were doing earlier. Recall again, I would imagine it's towards the right side of the map. Yep, Mama is available once more. The Vikings are still nearby. They're still landed on the ground. Man, if we could have a few more Zealots here, that would be pretty sweet. It's going to be a lot of dead SCVs, guys. It's going to be a lot of dead SCVs. Likewise, there is a drop in the top left-hand corner. Pro production is not going to be ideal. Both players have now taken so many worker losses. But I think ByuN is navigating this late game a little bit better than his opponent. Hero has been spending his resources so aggressively, trying to shove ByuN out of the game. But fighting against ByuN appears to be like hitting a wall. ByuN is extremely resilient here, making it super difficult for his opponent to really get that lead. And keep in mind, right, we can see the amount of resources that they have. Hero has no idea. In Hero's mind, he's been mining 60-70% of the map for basically the entirety of this match. And somehow, some way, ByuN is still able to go toe-to-toe. As a matter of fact, ByuN right now has a bigger bank and he's got a bigger army. He decides to push through, just testing the waters. The gas bank is being depleted. We have some Archons added into the mix. More probes are being sent down the meat grinder. And with that base in the upper left gone, Hero's mining, Hero's income has just gone down to a trickle. What does he even still have? I think it's just this. Couple of skinny mineral fields over on the left side of the map. But the natural, the third, the main, all of it is out. That means that the only mining that Hero has is on that outer base. Likewise, though, ByuN doesn't have that much more either. ByuN hasn't been able to send another command center around. He's been preoccupied. Now finally decides to resecure this one. Scans the far bottom right. Realizes now that Hero's final mining has to be right over here. But just like us, just like Hero, he can't really know exactly how much Hero currently has. It's such a difficult standoff right now. How do you decide where to go? He wants to sell the SCVs here, use them for a little bit of tanking. Okay, honestly, not bad. Good EMP onto all of the Archons as well. The Zealots are breaking through the SCV line, but they leave the Terran army itself alone. GG gets called. It's ByuN who wins game number 1. Whew. Well, that game ended up delivering. I was a little afraid that the early game passivity would carry on through the entirety of the match. But that turned out to be a spectacular match. And you can see, right, why Terran players decide to play the passive approach early on. Why take the risk when the late game just seems to be quite a bit better if indeed you can stay on top of all of the engagements? Because one of the difficult parts, of course, that is easily forgotten is that you're one Purification Nova away from death. It doesn't take much for the game to go horribly wrong. Honestly, for either player, obviously, right? But especially for Terran, you take one bad storm, one bad disruptor hit, and the game is over. Well, now we're on Sanctuary 3. No Nexus first here, or Command Center first for ByuN. I think it's because Hero pretty much always goes for the Probe Scout. I do wonder if it's nice in the late game to get the Storm upgrade going for Protoss. I know it's kind of expensive, but there is that stage, right, in the late game where you feel like you're never gonna run out of money. A couple of well-placed Storms could be all you really need. Yeah. One thing that's also easily forgotten about is that professional gamers are human. At least all of the ones I've met only have 2 hands. Sometimes you can come up with the perfect strategy, right? But then the theory is cool, but the actual execution is nearly impossible. Microing 2-3 spellcasters and then all of your other army units is, yeah, very strong in theory, but again, very difficult to actually reliably pull off. It's really what makes players like, for example, Serral so scary in the late game. We've seen a lot of games where Serral appears to be microing all of those spellcasters perfectly, but if you've ever given it a try, honestly, if you've ever played StarCraft 2 or any RTS game and you've tried playing with 2 control groups, you know how hard it is, right? Now imagine running 5. And then somehow, some way, like you're playing the piano, it all has to come together without you making a whole lot of mistakes. Ultimately, this really is a rhythm game. This is basically the Guitar Hero, except you're playing it with a mouse and keyboard. Anyways, Sanctuary 3. Let's see. Do we want to play another big macro game again, ByuN? While maybe strategically it's sound, again, it's very exhausting too, right? So this particular match is actually the finals of the Monday Night Weekly, meaning that both of these players have been, well, they've been going at it for a while already, going into this particular match, right? Going into this particular finals. So it's not just going to be this one-off best of 3. They've probably already played maybe a dozen games leading to this point, maybe more. So yeah, you gotta keep in mind as well that there's a finite amount of energy. Now, players rarely request breaks in the middle of a series. Sometimes, right? Sometimes they will ask. This is nice, actually, ByuN. Sometimes they will ask for a break, but most of the time they're like, okay, game's over. Go next. Go next. Sanctuary 3 next map. Go. 1A, 2A, 3A, 1A, 2A, 3A. That's what they spam in the chat. 1A, 2A, 3A. Go. Fun fact, you can play this game without having ADHD. But maybe it helps. maybe it helps. But we do generally see that a lot. The players do want to go immediately to the next match. Alright, Command Center on the low ground is going to be done. And we want more of ByuN opening up with a little bit of early game aggression. So where did it all go wrong for Hero, right? Hero was just being a little bit too aggressive on his spending. Yeah, he was spending his minerals and gas like he had won the lottery and that his bank account was never going to run out. But then it did run out. Hero's one of those lottery winners that you hear of, that win like $100 million in the jackpot or whatever, and then somehow they run out of cash within 2 years. It's like, brother, how do you even do that? Well, I guess what you do is you make 1 million zealots, and you right-click onto a planetary fortress. Now, you do that a couple of times, suddenly your mineral bank is out. Not ideal. All right. We have a classic case right here of loading whatever you have inside of a medevac and sending it across the map for ByuN. This is the Terran favorite. Loading whatever the hell you have, man, into the medevac and just sending it. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna help, though. When you're going up against Stalkers already. That good old gateway change coming into effect here. Supply block, though, for Hero. I don't know if he's realized it yet. He just made a Nexus, but what he really needs to make is a pylon. Now he starts up a pylon. Jeez, Hero. That's a huge supply block. You can't really do supply blocks like that, honestly, right now. With the gateway change, these type of supply blocks really hurt. Medevac yet again here. The dance inside of the tall grass yet again, too. Okay. This line of sight blocker, right? Making it difficult for the players to really figure out what's going on the other side. Blink is going to be available. No, actually, not the case. No, he decided to go charge first. I was going to say Blink should be available in about a half minute. But not the case yet. We're going charge first. It's a Hero play and a half, by the way, to be making a bunch of Stalkers and an Immortal and then go into charge first. Stimpack, combat shields. +1 infantry attack. We should be going combat shields. There it is. Probably the most commonly forgotten upgrade for Terran. Even at the highest level, it happens all the time. It's kind of like the adrenal glands of Zerg, except you get it early on. Forgetting either of those two upgrades is problematic. The supply block right here, though, for Hero is a big deal. The fact that he did not really... Like, producing army is one thing, but building up your economy is another, right? So he did get a faster third Nexus going, but this was already building before the supply block hit. So he's probably successfully reduced his own worker count by like 10. It adds up very quickly. Going into a Robo Bay. We should be adding on a Colossus here in just a moment. Get the Colos, Hero! I've been rereading the... oh, another supply block. This one, though, not as long. I've been rereading the Mistborn archive. I'm only like halfway through book 1 right now, but I read them years ago. There's some Colos as well in that particular world. They're a little different, though, than the StarCraft 2 Colos. Prism going around the map here just to try and be a nuisance. But this game feels a little bit clumsy, from Hero especially. Things are a bit sharper on the Terran's end of the map. The main problem, though, that we are arriving in right now is that, again, Terran can't really do that much past this particular push, right? If he wants to, he could go for an attack with Stimpack, Combat Shields, +1 attack, but where do you go? Where do you go from here? Man, this feels like an extremely late Stimpack timing. Didn't that upgrade finish like 45 seconds ago? Really? I really don't like these disjointed timing attacks. So, you get a huge power spike on the units that you've got, right? And, like, the longer you wait, the lesser that strength really is. Like, we could have been here before the ranged upgrade for Colossi is done. Now we're arriving as the second Colossus finishes and the ranged upgrade is nearly done too. It's a huge power spike for Protoss that could have been negated altogether. I think both players are feeling the heat from that previous game. Yeah, it's a horrible engagement here for ByuN, just across the board. Terrible. He does kill 8 probes, I guess, with a little auto turret. All right. But this fight should have gone way better. Oh, man. This fight would have gone way better if he arrived at the correct moment. Oh. Oh, I'm hurting. I'm hurting. That's not good. The reason you hit Stimpack Combat Shields +1 is so you can hit before the second Colossus is out. Before the ranged upgrade is finished. Now suddenly you're giving Hero a free pass back into the game. Hero was successfully hamstringing himself. Those Widow Mines are also putting in so much work. But my main concern right now is whether or not ByuN can even hold. Okay, +2 attacks is going to be finishing up here for Protoss in just a moment. Hero did, of course, commit into a 4th Nexus. I don't think he's going to be backing off, though. It's not really in Hero's blood to back off. You could do it. You could send your army home right now. But, yeah, this is Hero we're talking about, right? Maybe Showtime would be backing off. Maybe Classic would be backing off. This is Hero, though. Do you think Hero is going to Nah. We ride or we die. We dance. Yeah, the Colossi have some nice legs to be dancing with, I guess. Do you think it's easier to dance if you have 4 legs? Because I can't dance for the life of me, but I only have 2. Anyways, anti-armor missile, don't care. Anti-armor missile, don't care. Zealot's in the meantime in the main base. He's just fighting under anti-armor missile, man. That's crazy. Immortal because of it, not so immortal. Yeah, honestly, this is still going really nicely, though, here for the Protoss, just because he's been destroying the SCV count. I can't believe ByuN decided to double down on that attack. I can't believe he decided to just go for, like, a super delayed Stimpack timing attack. It makes no sense. Well, in case you wonder, why don't you just go for a disjointed one? That's the reason why. All right. We're going Gravitic Drive. I guess that's what the Warp Prism was missing. Gravitic Drive is the speed upgrade for the Warp Prism. Double expansion right here for Hero. Yeah. Who will be moving around the map here like he owns the place again. Just like in the previous one. Oh, these fights are just not good for Terran. The slow zone here obviously is making everything a little bit more tricky for the melee units. But honestly, this was very much so ByuN with a significant misplay and Hero capitalizing on it immediately. Okay, and that means it all comes down to this. Final game in the best of 3. We are on Rainfall. You know what I think we just experienced? Both of these players running out of energy. Yeah, running out of this like magical juice that humans have where you have a finite amount of the energy and then I guess you have to like replenish it again or something. I'm not really sure. But yeah, they definitely did not play nearly as well in Game 2 as they did in Game 1. And I think that's probably because they're exhausted. I was a little tired after casting it. Maybe you were tired after watching it. Now imagine playing it. Ugh. Yeah, maybe don't do that for too long. Alright. Lucky for us, though, it's their jobs, right? That helps. It's actually one of the reasons why, generally speaking, players play way better when they make the switch from, like, being part-time players to full-time pro gamers. You just have a limited amount of energy, I guess, every day. And being able to dedicate it all to one series, yeah, it certainly helps. All right, let's see. It also definitely helps with casting, by the way. I think I'm a way better commentator than I was, like, I don't know, whenever I switched to doing this full-time. It's been quite a few years at this point. I'm guessing we're gonna go energy bay block. Yep. Recently, and maybe some of you have seen this as well, there's a video that the YouTube algorithm picked up. I think it's titled, Who Is This? And it's me as like a 12-year-old, although I think I'm actually 20. I look like I'm about 12 years old, and that video, for some reason, has been getting more views over the last couple weeks that it ever did in like the lifetime of the video. It's like a decade old. It's extremely cringe. I can't watch it myself. But I think that's right about the time that I decided to switch to doing this whole content creation thing full time. Maybe a year or two after that point. It's been a while. It's been a little while. But for some reason, man, sometimes the YouTube algorithm does this magical thing where videos that are extremely painful to watch get recommended to me. I recently experienced the same thing as well with like an MKBHD video where he's like a tech reviewer, right? He was like reviewing, I think, the iPhone 4. It's like, YouTube, why are you recommending I go and watch this iPhone 4 review? I don't really know. Anyways, Zealot goes across the map. Did he cancel the... No. He made a Nexus? He shows it to ByuN? And then he cancels the Nexus? What? There's no way that's the correct play, is it? It's so much lost time. It's so much lost resources. This is gonna be very confusing though for ByuN as well. Maybe the added advantage here is that ByuN is gonna get across the map here in a moment and believe that the natural expansion is gonna not be available. If this Reaper sees it though, that would be massive. Nah, Reaper's gonna be going home, I think. And if the Reaper does go around, it will probably check out the main base over here instead. It will likely not bother rechecking the base up north. This is weird though. I don't think that's technically the correct play. But hey. ByuN's gonna be so confused. Oh, he doesn't check! ByuN doesn't check! He believes it's there. He's currently trying to intercept probes that are making it a... Huh? Okay, now he knows. But for about 3 seconds there, ByuN thought he was playing against the greediest Protoss he's ever seen. He believed for a moment that it was a Gateway Nexus strat. Alright, apparently we're now gonna just proceed like nothing happened. So I guess the argument is that the engineering bay block also slows down the Terran. So that's the irony of the engineering bay block, right? Like you go for the engineering bay block to slow down your opponent's expansion, but because you've just invested 125 minerals into making an engineering bay, you also delay your own expansion. Maybe it's stronger now because the command center is cheaper. Anyhow, he built it in the main base too, which is like another 7-second delay, so... yeah. I guess Hero thought to himself, yo, I just don't want to deal with the split up bases. And you know what? Especially when you're kind of sleepy, or maybe when you notice your energy levels dipping, having the bases disjointed is probably extra annoying. Okay. So now we just proceed like everything's normal. Hallucinated Phoenix Scout. One of the strongest plays that Protoss can go for. Yeah, good luck with this Widow Mine drop. This is definitely something that Protoss players like to go for, but it is quite finicky. Sentry's just expensive. But I mean, you get free vision all over the map, and this is still one of the most useful units as well with Guardian Shields and Force Fields, right? That you can have in the engagements too. Oh, he sees all of this coming in from a mile away. At least one of the Widow Mines here is hiding. We don't have Blink done yet, so I think the Medevac is going to be able to go back home. Oh, no. ByuN! Ah, oh, my God! Yo, I think the players are starting to fall asleep in their seats, guys. Wait, did he just use hallucinated probes to try and clear all of this out? I'm a fan of that play. So this is while they were having this little skirmish over here, yeah. So it becomes visible after it's shot, and yeah, that's one way of very rapidly getting rid of all of this stuff. So now we've had pretty much the perfect beginning for Hero, other than, well, I guess slowing himself down, because he's now still building up that Nexus anyways. In the end, he didn't really need to, but I guess he just didn't want to deal with some sort of one-base shenanigans from ByuN. So let's see. Hallucinated probe, man. Ah. Widowmine does burrow behind the mineral line. 1 probe, not a bad deal. We do have the repair on the bunker, though, which is to be expected. But Blink at this point is done. You gotta be careful here as Terran. The Stalkers are popping out of the gateways very rapidly. For now, I guess we're just waiting to intercept. Okay, Stimpack. +1 attack. Guess what we're gonna be seeing here? Concussive no. Guardian. Combat shields. I was gonna call it Guardian Shell. That's the first time I've ever done that before. Guardian Shield and Combat Shields. For some reason, I never mixed those two up in my head. How many times have I called a Marauder an Immortal? And how many times have I called an Immortal a Marauder? But Combat Shields and Guardian Shields? Nah. Now I'm gonna do it, though. Now I'm gonna start doing it, I guess. Oh, well. Recall's gonna be used on some of the Stalkers. Needs to get rid of that Raven. Double auto turret does get a bit of damage done. Careful, though, with the Raven. Super expensive. 3 probes is not enough to justify losing it. Okay. So as spicy as game number 1 was, it's really important that we don't make sloppy mistakes. For example, if you want to go for the attack with Stimpack, Combat Shields, and +1 attack, we gotta hit it within, like, I want to say 20 seconds of the upgrades being done. Right now, though, we have a bit of a different follow-up here for Hero. So rather than going quick Colossus, he's going Blink into Charge. Charge is another... Oh, okay. Charge is another excellent way of getting the job done. But let's see. One final best of 3 in this finals for all the marbles. The SCVs have been pulled away. This is not a strategy ByuN's a big fan of, but let's see if it works out this time around. Hallucinated Colossus, by the way. Terran was never gonna back off, but that's so many dead SCVs. Now there's no economy to go home to. Siege tanks do blast the sentries apart, but more and more Zealots are being made right now, and they pop out so quickly, far quicker than they would out of a warp gate. Having 1 Immortal here would be massive as well. Now the probes are gonna be sent down the meat grinder as well. There's some Widow Mines in the mix. Is there enough Protoss to break through all of it? The Immortal comes out, man, and that's such a big kill. Oh my god, he does snipe it. Siege tank does stay alive. The Widow Mines are currently all set off. Yeah, and I think there's just barely not enough here for ByuN to get the job done. 23 probes, 23 SCVs. Resources lost heavily in favor right now of the Terran player. Mostly because Protoss has lost a lot more. But Protoss is also mining more. Colossus coming out, by the way. Colossus would be incredible. There's not really enough energy on those medevacs to constantly replenish all of these units. So Stimpaks are becoming costly. And this is buying a lot of time. I can't really believe that Hero decided to now spend all of his money on like 1 Colossus. You have to cut gateway production for a while to pull that off. But it's certainly going to give him a very, very scary unit. All army hotkey on the Raven, not good. Widowmine does not really get a great connection either. There's plenty of Stalkers available. They do have Blink done as well. Medevacs overextended. ByuN making some sloppy micro mistakes. He was basically hoping you could right-click onto the Colossus. That was the micro, I guess, that he was planning on doing. Right-clicking the Colossus. Yeah, and these gateways, man, they're going to town. Like, honestly, the amount of production Hero is able to do, he's been effectively producing. Like, in the past, you would need at least 8 gateways, like 8 warp gates, that is, to be able to constantly produce with this amount of income. Right now, Hero is doing the same off of just 2 gateways, right? Or 6 gateways, so that's 2 less. Maybe the command centers are cheaper, but in a way, that also does save a lot of money on the side of the Protoss. Okay. Now that the dust has settled, though, where exactly do we end up? Army-wise, Protoss is ahead. Income-wise, Terran's totally fine. This is not a terrible situation, but rather than going into a lot of additional economy right now, ByuN has decided to spend his new money on more production structures. I think ByuN is maybe going to go for a secondary SCV all-in. This is looking like one of those Maru specials. This is where Colossi are incredible, though. The first attack wave is so strong, mostly because there's not gonna be a lot of splash damage on the side of Protoss just yet. But if you go for this additional move out, are we gonna do it? Maybe not. You're gonna be fighting a lot more splash. And if Protoss did go for splash early, then you would be fighting against charge slots as well with the secondary wave. A nice bit of micro here by Hero. Hero, by the way, hitting a big supply block yet again. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but he's now been at 127 out of 127 for like half a minute. Do we now pay the gateway tax? Oh my god. Man, it's so interesting, right? How the first game was so crisp, so sharp, both players clearly locked in. But then the adrenaline wears off between game 1 and 2. And suddenly they appear to be very mortal. Okay. The Zealots here are so scary. There is one Viking, though. 2 Vikings available now. Still, this can deal a lot of damage. Widowmine, don't be dealing friendly fire. Okay. That was actually an excellent Widowmine hit. Ooh. I love the hallucinations. I love hallucinations in this game so much. There's the SCV train, by the way, yet again. The Vikings have been working away at 1 real Colossus and then 2 fake ones. Marauder count is still massive, though. We have a Disruptor production switch right now. There's one of them already. There's one of them already. Okay, careful. Could have been the end of the game. Not quite. ByuN's supply count, though, is starting to look pretty rough. The Colossus juggling here is pretty sweet as well. And with the Prism dying, but the Colossus staying alive, ByuN decides to tap out. There were multiple opportunities for ByuN in this game to swap on over to additional command center production. And I think if he had all of the energy in the world, that's probably what he would have done. But I think what happened here is game number 1, they basically spent all of what they had. Game number 2 was the sloppiest both of them have played in a while. And I guess ByuN just kind of lost it. And then in game 3, ByuN decided, yo, I'm just gonna send it. We'll just give it a shot. I'm just gonna send it. And sadly for him, it did not work out here. But it does mean that Hero wins another tournament.